أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله.
America, white America, I am amazed, I am astounded at your glaring lack of understanding of the black experience, your lack of sympathy, your lack of empathy, your lack of sensitivity. You are blinded by your own arrogance or just plain ignorance, eclipsed only by your stubbornness and overall unwillingness to learn from the errors of your way.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and welcome. I have the privilege and honor to introduce the speaker of the hour, Stephen Silver. A native Washingtonian, Stephen is a sterling example of the best and the brightest that DC Public School has to offer. Orator, poet, activist, aka the American Griot. Howard University graduate and now published author. Affectionately called by his beloved community as the poet. Yes, he's etching his place in history with his unique blend of fiery poetry and spellbinding speech-making. Heralded by the former director of the ACLU as an oratorical genius, he speaks extensively throughout the Washington metropolitan area. Affiliated with dozens of Christian churches and a registered member of the Nation of Islam. He was invited to speak at the White House on several occasions under the Clinton-Gore administration. As a young man, he felt the call of God on his life. He says he wanted to be a pastor because God had given him a pastor's heart. But it was God who would change the trajectory of his life, set his feet on a path, and seal his fate as a poet. One who has met the qualifying steps to be called the servant of God, a servant of his people, a strong and courageous black man, a true modern-day black nationalist poet and freedom fighter, fighting for the freedom and justice and equality of the black man and the black woman here in the hills and the hells of North America. The Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a time for everything, a time for every event under the sun, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. Arguably, the most powerful poet you'll ever hear. Without further ado, I present to you Stephen Silver, up close and personal. So, experience for yourself the power, the passion, the poet, the one you came to hear. Let's receive him.
In the name of the Most High God, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and in the name of all the strong black freedom fighters, I come to you today as a modern day black nationalist, poet, freedom fighter, fighting for the freedom, the justice, the equality of our people. Yes, I'm here today, but not as some prophet, no sage, no rabbi, no priest, but a poet, a voice, articulating the hurt and the pain and the suffering masses of our people who are not moving forward. A poet. But not just any poet, but one who would rise to the call of service. The beckoning of a generation. Yes, I'm here today as a servant of an awesome God and a servant of an awesome people. The God who was our God before we were brought here to the hills and hells of North America, the one of whom it was prophesied in the book of Exodus to come and to deliver his people, if indeed we represent the people and the prophetic fulfillment of Scripture, who would be in bondage for over 400 years, whom afterwards God would come to deliver. Yes, brought here to America on the belly of slave ships, ship filled with dung and disease. They packed us in like sardines, traded us for mere sugar cane and coffee beans. The despised and rejected. Our people, robbed of our names, robbed of our language, robbed of our history, robbed of our culture, our folkways, our mores, our religion. Look at us. We have adopted the religion of our slave masters, and the proof is that we have bowed down to worship the image of a lily white Jesus even up until today, Yet the scriptures clearly say of this Jesus that his skin would be like fine brass burnt in an oven, whose head and hair would be like lamb's wool, not some impostor, pale-faced, blue-eyed, stringy, blonde hair, pasteurized, homogenized white Jesus of Hollywood. So listen up, all you listeners. Tonight I've come to take no prisoners. I come in the spirit of that strong black Muslim minister, Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, not some foot-shuffling, boot-licking, pamphlet-preaching, turn a non-violent cheek, modern-day Uncle Tom escaped preacher with some pie in the sky, sowing the sweet, by and by, lullaby preachers, rocking our people to sleep. So I write this poetry to wake us up. Thank you. My next poem is entitled Fury, the Advent of Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy, like ominous storm clouds forming like cotton candy. This horrific hurricane, but who's the culprit? Who's to blame? An act of man or God, we wonder, tearing this material world asunder. Allah, God's judgment. Recognize that this position is not popular. You rather trust in the weatherman's Doppler? America has glorified in its own magnificent land, worshiping the very ground upon which we're standing, bowing down to the God in the Bible that Jesus called Mammon. Is America a modern-day Tower of Babel, Big Apple? Oh, America, how you forgotten God. Now you must face his divine chastening rod. But what? Now you face his divine chastening rod. But what would Allah, God, say to you and me? Even the deaf and blind can hear and clearly see by any gauge from which we measure. Certainly we're experiencing God's divine displeasure. Oh, I can only try to understand. Oh, I can only try to understand. Oh, how suddenly it came and went. A swift judgment has been sent, leaving behind God's fingerprint. This issue we must confront. Yet I have to be painfully blunt. I am aware that I'm not coming across politically correct. But the problem of America, this idol it has erect. America, you have set up a God besides God, and the stench of idolatry has reached heaven. To God, the smell is pungent, and now you cannot get around the jealousy of God's judgment. So I come as no prophet, no sage, no rabbi, no priest, to tell you the obvious, that your world as you know it has suddenly ceased. Compassion, oh, I can only try to understand. Oh, I can only try to understand. Oh, how awful the wind did blow. Oh, how furious the floods did flow. Oh, I can only try to understand. Oh, I can only try to understand the devastation, the pain, how it left an awful stain. Rains, winds, floods, hail, fire, and snow. The entire arsenal of heaven for sure. But isn't that obvious? I do not have to mention. God has now gotten our attention. America has been warned the culprit is mammon. You cannot longer worship the ground from which we're standing. We must worship God and God alone. None dare to tread on his sacred throne. Hurricane Sandy has come and went. Yet God will heal our land if we repent. Thank you. My next poem is entitled, A Stand for Peace. A stand for peace in the Middle East. Innocent men and women caught in the flurry. Countless of civilians being buried. Yet slaughtered by the military. Force and violence is not the answer. It's a deadly duel like malignant cancer. The world is getting smaller while nation problems are growing larger. The Israeli and Palestinian continual fight over land. It's a little bit complicated, you understand. Yes, this small world, no place to run, no place to hide. Are we headed for global suicide? But before we begin, before we commence, let's just use a bit of common sense. You're fanning the flames of mistrust and hatred, and human life is no longer sacred. Both sides praying to God, but they pray amiss. War is like spiraling down a deep abyss. The world is watching people dying. As religious folk, what are we exemplifying? People displaced, leaders in the valley of indecision. In the balance lies the lives of innocent civilians. Things are getting insane, shooting down innocent people in civilian planes. Things are getting out of joint. Reduced to bombing citizens just to make a point. The entire world stands watching and waiting. All this power and so intoxicating. Why don't these great religions look and gaze above? I thought we conceded to the fact that God is love. And loving your neighbor should not be this hard. You're killing folk and playing God. The nations of the earth are in an uproar. Things getting worse as tempests soar. War is a burden we cannot bear. What if you saw rockets and missiles flying in the air? Sacred writ declares decree, thou shalt not kill. This atrocious tablets delivered by the prophet Moses. War? Have you exhausted all other options? War? Are you intent and bent on building coffins in massive graves the people you buried? You think the answer lies in the cemetery? Israeli and Palestinians, a history of mistrust and caution. All eyes on you and the world is watching. The most sacred religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, in a state of Bedlam. Three great religions birth. So how did we get to the place of obliterating each other off the face of the earth? The stakes are high, the situation dire, the teetering balance of military power. Yet war is not the answer. It will eat us all alive like some deadly cancer. Tempers flare, tempers soar. We must concede to the fact that the answer is not war. In this world which we live, war is outdated. It is in fact so antiquated. You call yourselves religious people, yet you destroy. Rockets and missiles you deploy. You play like toys, like immature little girls and boys. Can we not broker a solution? What about a two-state solution? Your differences you must discuss. It's hard moving forward amidst the backdrop of suspicion and mutual distrust. You're caught up in a political duel, gaining momentum, no lack of fuel, yet fueled by hatred and suspicion. Now death and destruction, your central mission. The world leaders brood, but the root of the problem lies in a family feud, a quagmire, a political log jam. Find common ground. Are you not all children of Abraham? Is the world doomed? Is this the beginning of the end? As nations refuse to budge and bend, brotherhood, can we not find peace in this land called the Middle East? Like the prophets of old who announced this, can we not find something more powerful than military might? As religious people, have we lost all sense of what's wrong and right? Show the world that your greatest virtue is not your vice. Discard the stubborn leaders whose hearts are as cold as ice. America, I challenge you, do not join the fight. Our true strength lies in our moral might. This is not just some geopolitical fight, but a moral fight. Stand up, America. Take a stand. Be an example to an ancient and distant land. So let peace reign. Let peace reign to the skies of Malaysia, to North and South Korea and all of Asia. May peace be ushered throughout Russia. Let peace roll down in the plains of Europe like the flow of maple syrup. And may peace turn to joy and laughter in the entire continent of Africa, to Iraq, to Iran, to Afghanistan, to all the distant and ancient lands, to all Jews and Christians and Muslims and all faiths, in peace be rolled, to all those around the spinning globe. Let peace reign from the poorest Haiti to America, the most powerful nation on the earth, to every race and creed, to those who have, to those in need. Let peace reign. Let peace reign throughout the entire world, in every mind and heart of every man, woman, boy, and girl. And in the end, may we all profess it is in God whom we trust, when peace is not an option, but a must. Thank you. My next poem is entitled, Symbol Without Substance. No justice, no justice. Symbols without substance. Patriotism. First, this I must underscore. As blacks, we have fought, bled, and died in all your wars. But at what cost? In the world's eyes, the fear of you they have lost. No longer in your conscience see it. Your technology so long revered. No justice, just symbols without substance. America, the land of the free. Just for a few, but not people like me. Yes, free. Free from the conscience that would breed pity. Blacks still languish in the inner city. Massive incarceration, prison compounds ready to bust. Justice filling their jails and prison would seemly just us. But some things we cannot ignore. The poor and sick concern the Lord. The black church too transfixed on going to heaven. Yet not enough love for the earthly brethren. No justice, just symbols without substance. The pool party, a young black girl, no respect at all. Treated and handled like some rag doll. So tell me, what are you going to do? Just let it slide while it builds up and festers up inside. No justice, just symbols without substance. America the beautiful, it is not even remotely pretty. Blacks like nomads in the inner city. America boasts that she is the most powerful nation on the earth, but just as she doesn't have enough strength to give birth, the police, I thought they were meant to protect and serve us. Their mere presence just seems to make me nervous. No justice, just symbols without substance. America, you liken yourselves unto the bald eagle. You're not even close to being that regal. In fact, you're more like a vulture, feeding on a dying culture. And we hold these truths to be evident. Black lives in the 21st century are seemingly irrelevant. But back to the pool party, I pity the fool. What do you intend to do? Let it ride? What has made you so sissified? Shame on you. I'm asking you, what are you gonna do? Our young are looking to us, so we must teach them to fight with those who fight with us. No justice, just symbols without substance. We cannot sit back and butcher our conscience, rest and rely solely on marches. We can no longer be passive. We must be active. We can no longer be meek. America, this generation, you don't have the luxury of us turning a nonviolent cheek. No justice, but symbols without substance. And we cannot stand no more. The Bible in Ecclesiastes states there's a time for war. Here we are in the black church, thoughts of heaven you're romancing. Still sitting in the church singing and dancing. too fond of heaven, yet forgetting about your earthly brethren. But what will history record? Were we too cowardice to take up the sword? America, there will be no rest, no tranquility for me until all the black masses are free. We seek justice, we seek no longer our conscience and our emotions tweak. No justice, just symbols with substance. Let us regroup, prepare the troop. What at stake are people's lot lost. So join the cause, but consider the cost, and carry their weights of bearing cross. Thank you. My next poem is entitled, The Black Masses and Color Clashes. When I view the black masses and color clashes, I refuse to see life through rose-colored glasses. Or I have a dream, was it merely a theme? When I think of the black masses, our progress has moved as slow as molasses. It's no mystery. You must know your history. I dare ask, do you know your past? A little knowledge of the past will reveal society's culture clash. They say race is not a thing, yet we wake up in a world where white folks are king. We are all equal. As the black masses, we're relegated to the worst of slums. Underwear hanging out, shirtless, seen as shirtless bums. Once again, white America extends its hand. But remember the Native American, how they schemed and stole their land? How about King? While whites are continually scheming to twist his words to keep us dreaming. They say to themselves in D.C., let us offer integration and equality until we've gotten all their property. But we as blacks demand justice, not friendship. White supremacy, too proud to call us kinship. Just to pile around some table, as long as it remains a pretty fable. Don't be conned, tricked, or fooled. Friendship is another tool to fuel their rule. They only love us for what we can do for them. So just keep singing those slavery hymns. You see, we are their central targets to live in their so-called projects. Do you see it? Life is changing in the hood. Things are changing seemingly for good. Or I would buy one of those beautiful homes if I could. But we know that's not going to happen. So the jokes are nuts, so they keep on laughing. So we must learn not duplicate the past. What we're seeing is another culture clash. The new neighborhoods, let's clear the fog. You feel unprotected unless you bring your dog. I'm genuinely concerned about the black masses, and I see how swiftly time passes. White America do not do for the black America what it must do for himself. So take a good look. There's power in that old history book. They do not mind integration as long as we're relegated to the lowest station. It's no longer a mystery. They stole and kept us from our true history. The knowledge of the past is key. It dictates the shape of future you see. So let's tell us how the present came to be. So some say race is not a thing, yet we find ourselves in a world where white folks are king. So let us get at the root. You judge a tree by its fruit. By the color of our skin, we recognize you. You recognize us. This thing called race we must discuss. But it's not the color of a people, you see, who put us in this terrible condition we find us in. I do not think they want equality. Like the Native American, they want our property. In fact, it weakens us to assimilate into their society. They do not want to be held responsible for their collective past. So let us hold hands and sing a tune. Surely freedom is coming soon. Do you really love us or not? This melting pot, I think not. One thing is real, which has been concealed. History, blacks of the children are the children of Israel. Moses did not want integration. God demanded separation. Separation from Pharaoh and his people. No longer seen as slaves but equal. This is the tale of the black masses. The continual feud between color clashes. History says this is the 21st century. Somebody wake me up and just pinch me. This is the 21st century. Was that a helicopter? Thank you. My next poem is entitled, The American Pie. The American pie. Is it real or just a lie? An American lie or an invisible pie? They knew you would buy. So you fight and scratch until the last snatch. You scramble for every stale nook and cranny as if it were candy. Open your eyes, shake the spell. See the crack in the Liberty Bell? This economy. Too many people turning to drugs and the bottle as if there were no tomorrow. The cares of life too much to swallow, finding themselves indebted, more often with bad credit. And you know you didn't get the loan. You could tell by the banker's tone. Living on life terms can sometimes be a tough pill to swallow. But it's sad when your only hope is lotto. The American pie, is it real or just a lie? Wake up and be realistic rather than materialistic. If you are materialistic, you don't need a mystic. Trusting in things is not realistic. Here today and gone tomorrow. Not having things should not bring you sorrow. The American pie, is it just a lie? Be relieved that you can breathe. Smile even if it's just for a while. It seems you're always scheming, forever dreaming. Put a stop to this unwarranted sadness. Put an end to all this madness. Oh, but the thrill of the hunt, more like a publicity stunt. The trick is to make you always want for the cheddar we chase. No wonder they call it a rat race. Be grateful, poverty's not faithful. Just keep trusting God while working real hard. Is the American pie just passing you by? Many reduce to plot and scheme just to chase the American dream. Yet for too many, the American dream is just a lie, like chasing after a sliver of pie. Is the American pie real or just a lie? This insatiable need to buy, but in the end, what's the standard? It's strange, I can recall a time when we were taught that the pie included a mansion and a yacht. But how do you define pleasure? Is there a rod by which you can measure? It's high time that we think to treasure and the things that really matter. In the end, is the American pie passing you by? Is it real or just a lie? Thank you.